I'm Stuart Gillespie. I'm a Senior Research Fellow at International Food Policy Research Institute and CEO of the Transform Nutrition Research Programme Consortium. The paper focused on the politics of reducing malnutrition, how to build commitment, sustain commitment, how to turn that commitment into impact on the ground. It's an area that we feel and others feel has been largely neglected in the past. There's been some work on the political economy of undernutrition back in the 70s, 80s, and then not an awful lot happened beyond that until about 10 years ago, and one or two multi-country studies came up. But compared to other disciplines, in general, nutrition has been a little bit more apolitical, and I think that has been part of the reason why there's been some resistance or lack of traction, if you like, with regard to national decision makers picking up the issue of nutrition. We looked at the different papers, the different reviews. There haven't been many reviews at all in this area, to generate a conceptual framework for studying the politics of nutrition. And we've basically ended up with three domains, if you like, or three themes. The first is knowledge, evidence, and the framing of knowledge and the framing of evidence. The second relates to the political structures within countries or in regions, subnational levels, and governance structures. And the third are the issues of capacity and resourcing or financing. One thing we found in the cases, the three cases, Maharashtra in India, Peru and Malawi, is that you see elements of, it's not one single thing, we see elements of different things happening at different times and coalescing to make an impact or to generate change. So literally in Maharashtra there was a big emphasis on capacity, making sure that literally the frontline workers were able to do their job effectively. What does it take? So they really looked at what it took for them in terms of time, skills upgrading, supervision, basic nuts and bolts of implementation, which were not being done in other states in India. That was a primary focus. That has started to pay dividends. You see the rates of stunting coming down in Maharashtra. In Peru there was more high-level advocacy led by an NGO coalition that extracted pledges from different presidential candidates on stunting, which then were turned into a national level program, and then subsequently through decentralization and capacity strengthening that was consolidated later on. Malawi is one example of a country with a high-level charismatic leader or champion who was positioned with direct link to the Prime Minister's office, and that has made a major impact. Malawi, for example, comes up highly on the new Nutrition Commitment Index of the Institute of Development Studies. I think it's the highest placed country in Africa, although because stunting levels were very high, it'll take time for those levels to come down, but there is an impetus now which is being generated. Our main message, we have several main messages. Basically, first of all, you cannot neglect the political angle. If the notion that nutrition is apolitical is completely myopic, it's self-defeating. There needs nutritionists or nutrition advocates or champions need to be more politically streetwise. They need to understand how to navigate policy and power. Again, knowing the entry points, knowing the leverage points, knowing the narrative, the stories or the way evidence is presented. Second, it also requires different stakeholders to come on board, therefore it's a collective approach, and we need to understand what that necessitates in terms of incentives, in terms of structures and systems for communicating. Third, leadership is absolutely pivotal within all this. And fourth, political will is not just something which happens automatically. It needs to be created. The political will and momentum needs to be developed, and finally that it needs to be converted into impact.